The Newsday continues here on One News Now. I'm Riza Diaz. Presidential aspirant Senator Ping Lacson has backed the reopening of nuclear power plant operations in the country should he be elected as president in 2022. During yesterday's Meet the Presidentials Economic Reforms in the New Frontier, Lacson said he is open to putting up a nuclear plant to help address the demand of oil in the Philippines. The virtual forum is part of the economic group's efforts to understand the economic platforms of the presidential candidates in 2022.
Yes, provided all the safety measures are in place, then why not? Because other countries are into nuclear power plants, putting up nuclear power plants. Because of the our experience in the Bataan nuclear power plant, medyo negative ang dating. But we should take a second look at this opportunity to reopen, provided all the safety measures are in place.
Lacson likewise said that he supports the proposed joint oil and gas exploration deal with China in the West Philippine Sea. Lacson, however, said that one condition must be met before he approves the joint exploration.
Yung joint exploration, as long as they would adhere to the constitutional provision of 60-40, I'm all for it. Why? And I hope no PLA is listening. Pag 60-40, it only shows that we own the area, those islands. We have sovereign rights over those areas.
Now, here are other developments in Philippine politics. Boholanos couldn't be dispersed even by the heavy rains as presidential aspirant Manny Pacquiao distributed food packs and 1,000 pesos to Boholanos. Recall that Pacquiao earlier denied claims of vote buying, saying he has long done such activities even before he entered politics. Hashtag Bring Back Marcos trended Friday on Twitter, showing support for the presidential bid of former Senator Ferdinand Bongbong Marcos Jr., son of the late dictator. Now, speaking on behalf of Marcos Jr., attorney Vic Rodriguez said they, quote, value supporters campaigning on these platforms, especially in a time when face-to-face events are still unsafe, end quote. To counter the Twitter trend, some users posted using the hashtag #BringBackMoneyMarcos. And Manila Mayor Isko Moreno said he will continue President Duterte's ambitious Build, Build, Build program if elected as president. But in a statement, Moreno said he will shift the program's focus to addressing the minimum basic needs of the public, which includes more hospitals, schools, and mass housing. 4 COMELEC officials will be appointed by President Duterte next year. But one political analyst says there's nothing to worry about as elections are not based on COMELEC officials but the will of the people. Jen Kalimon has the story.
With 3 high-ranking COMELEC officials retiring next year and 1 commissioner spot vacant, President Duterte will be deciding on who to appoint as new commissioners. The retiring commissioners are COMELEC Chair Sharif Abbas, Commissioner Rowena Guanzon, and Commissioner Antonio Co. Jr. Speaking to the chiefs, former COMELEC Chairman Christian Monsod said that the hearing to appoint new officers must be made public.
The hearing of the commission on appointments on these appointees, when they come, because it's still early, there are no names mentioned there, must be live, broadcast live. Because the basis of that, if I can just mention it, is that under our constitution, they are our agents, correct? So we have a right to know.
Meanwhile, the National Citizens Movement for Free Election or NAMFREL agrees with Monsod's suggestion. They say transparency in picking COMELEC officials is of utmost importance, especially since it is the president who will do the picking.
What we're saying is that at least make the process more inclusive and more open, no? And more transparent, no? Para alam ng tao kung sino-sino yung mga listahan na hawak niya at kung saan nanggaling, no?
But for political analyst Edmund Tayao, the public has nothing to worry about even if President Duterte's appointment coincides with the national elections next year. He added that the administration's appointment of the new officials does not mean that the appointee will favor them.
The Commission of Elections is mandated to ensure, of course, that elections go fair and orderly. We already have mechanisms in place. We've seen this in, say, for example, 2010, 2016, no? And we've seen all the administration candidates lost in many of these previous elections. Now, which means even if the administration in theory controls the COMELEC,
Tayao added that there is no need to doubt the credibility of the 2022 polls since it is based upon the will of the people. He also said that the president will not appoint anyone who is not qualified for the job.
I don't think any outgoing president or any president for that matter would be so callous and so insensitive and so unthinking to the point of choosing just about anybody.
Namfrel says any appointee must be meticulously scrutinized since they will have an important role in the upcoming elections.
The most important criteria that I would say should guide us would be the integrity of the person, no? Because he or she will be doing functions, no, which would determine certain outcomes.
Aside from Abbas, Guanzon, and Co., one commissioner spot is also vacant. So far, the palace has not yet released any announcement of the president's appointee. Reporting for News 5, Jen Galimon, We Are One News.
Oil companies are set to implement another round of adjustments in the price of petroleum products next week. This would be the 10th consecutive week of increase for gasoline prices. The oil price adjustment is usually announced on Monday and is implemented by Tuesday. In its forecast, the Unioil diesel should go down by 0.20 pesos to 0.30 pesos per liter next week. The oil company, however, projects an increase of 1.10 pesos to 1.20 pesos per liter on gasoline products. Now, we'll be back with more stories after the break. Keep it here on One News. You're still watching One News Now. I'm Riza Diaz. OCTA sees a downtrend of cases in NCR but is concerned about the rising death toll. Speaking on One News, OCTA's Professor Guido David said that the decreasing number of cases is in line with their projection. He added that the rising death rate may be due to the surge of COVID-19 in other areas with fewer vaccinated residents and less advanced healthcare system.
I haven't done the calculations yet, but I would assume that the 7-day average in new cases in the country has decreased. The trend is still downward, but the high number of deaths is alarming.
David also said that OCTA is backing the extension of Alert Level 3 in the metro, as well as proposals for further easing to Alert Level 2. This is because most indicators in the metro are low except for the daily attack rate, which is at moderate levels.
Well, we support the decision to extend the alert level 3 and the NCR, although actually we were supporting also a move to alert level 2, the reason being that most of the indicators in the NCR are already low.
WHO urges G20 leaders to step up vaccines donation to poorer states. This as the richest countries hold most of the world's vaccine supply, while vaccinations in the southern hemisphere lag. Let's watch this.
It's clear what needs to happen. The countries that have already reached the 40% target, which includes all the G20 countries, must give their spot in the vaccine delivery queue to COVAX and ABAT. The G20 countries must fulfill their dose-sharing commitments immediately. Manufacturers must prioritize and fulfill their contracts with COVAX and ABAT as a matter of urgency, and be far more transparent about what's going where.
If at the G20 summit in Italy, the world's richest countries cannot mobilize an extraordinary and expedited airlift of doses to the unvaccinated and unprotected of the world, and do so starting immediately, an epidemiological, economic, and ethical dereliction of duty will shame us all. By December, on current projections, the West will be stockpiling 600 million unused vaccines, and by February, almost 1 billion that could, starting today, if airlifted to the south, help prevent the loss of lives. To have the vaccines available in one half of the world and yet to deny them to the other half of the world is one of the greatest international public policy failures imaginable. And it's a moral catastrophe of historic proportions that will shock future generations. For if the G20, who hold the lion's share of vaccines, do not act to switch their stockpiled vaccines and delivery contracts from north to south, the World Health Organization's latest forecast is that there will be 200 million more COVID cases in the next year, 3/4 of them in the countries where most remain unvaccinated and unprotected, and 5 million lives hang in the balance. And if this were to be the case, we are only a little more than halfway through the damage caused by this pandemic.
Let's now take a quick look at today's other top stories. The health department has logged a record high number of deaths as 423 patients succumbed to COVID-19 in one day, pushing the nationwide death toll to more than 43,000. Meanwhile, Southeast Asian countries, including the Philippines, are still the worst places to be during the COVID-19 pandemic, according to Bloomberg. And a political law expert says money dole out by election candidates are not illegal as long as they are not in exchange for votes. And those are the top stories of the hour. Join us later again at 10:45 in the morning as we continue to monitor the day's biggest stories. You can also catch One News on the Signal Play app. Register for a free account now at www.signalplay.com and stream One News live anytime, anywhere. I'm Riza Diaz. Mask on, wash hands, and stay safe, Philippines. We are One News.